When we talk about being nice, people immediately assume it is a virtue. Society teaches you from a very young age, be nice to your elders, be nice to your friends, be nice to strangers. But have you observed what this niceness really is? If you look deeply, most of the time it is not genuine. It is just a convenient mask. When you smile at someone, though inside you don't feel like smiling. When you agree, though inside you don't agree. When you say, yes, but deep inside it is screaming, no. This is what we call niceness. Niceness is not compassion. Niceness is not kindness. Niceness is just a lubricant to keep social machinery running smoothly. And it works, but only on the surface. Inside, what does it do to you? It creates division, a fracture between what you truly feel and what you express. And when there is a fracture, there is tension. You live like two people, one inside, one outside. Inside you are boiling, but outside you are smiling. Inside you are angry, but outside you are nodding politely. This constant split is not a small thing. It is a daily violence you commit against yourself. Look at your own life. How many times have you sat with someone, pretending to enjoy their company, but wishing you could leave? How many times have you listened to endless talk, pretending to be interested, when every cell in your body wanted to escape? You do it because you think this is what makes you a good human being, a nice person. But tell me, are you really nice? Or are you simply acting nice? Pretension has a cost. When you wear masks long enough, you forget your own face. You don't know anymore what is authentic and what is fabricated. If someone asks, what do you really want? You don't even know how to answer. You have spent so much energy adjusting, accommodating, pleasing, being the agreeable one that your own clarity is lost. And when clarity is lost, frustration is guaranteed. This is why people who are always so nice suddenly explode. Have you seen this? Someone who is always smiling, always agreeable, suddenly one day bursts out in anger or resentment. And you are shocked. How could such a nice person behave like this? But it is simple. Niceness is only a cover. It is like painting over cracks on a wall. The cracks are still there, and one day the wall collapses. When you are only trying to be nice, you are not living life, you are managing it. Managing impressions, managing opinions, managing how others see you. You are constantly negotiating with yourself. If I say this, he may not like me. If I don't do this, she may feel offended. So every action is calculated, not from the fullness of who you are, but from fear of what others may think. This is not kindness. This is slavery. True kindness arises only when you are authentic. If something is not okay with you, you should be able to say it without anger, without malice, but with clarity. If something feels joyful to you, you should be able to embrace it without hesitation. Niceness makes you timid. Authenticity makes you free. Now, people worry, if I stop being nice, won't I become rude? Won't people dislike me? This fear itself shows how deep the conditioning runs. Understand this: authenticity does not mean being harsh. It does not mean you throw your anger and frustrations on everyone. Authenticity simply means you don't fake emotions you don't feel. You don't smile when there is no smile inside you. You don't say yes when it is really no. You don't decorate your words just to win approval. Look at a child before society teaches them to be nice. If the child doesn't like something, it shows immediately. If the child is happy, it radiates without inhibition. There is no filter, no pretending. That is why children have such a magnetic presence. They are not nice, they are real. But as you grow, you are trained. Don't say that, it will hurt him. Don't behave like that, people will think badly of you. Slowly, you stop being real and start being rehearsed, and you think this is maturity. No, this is just a social polish. True maturity is not about being polished, it is about being transparent. When you are authentic, people may not always like you, but they will trust you, and trust is far more powerful than being liked. Niceness gives you short-term approval. Authenticity gives you lasting respect. Even if your words are blunt, if they come from sincerity, they carry weight. But if your words are sweet while your heart is bitter, sooner or later, people will taste the bitterness. Niceness is exhausting because it is performance. How long can you keep performing? It drains your energy. You meet a friend, you put on one mask. You meet your boss, another mask. You meet your parents, another mask. By the end of the day, you don't even know who you really are. This is why so many people feel tired without doing much physical work. They are not tired from activity, they are tired from acting. So stop trying to be nice. Drop the compulsive politeness. Drop the habit of pleasing. Just be genuine. If you don't feel like talking, it's okay to be silent. If you don't feel like smiling, your plain face is enough. If you don't agree, it's okay to say no. What matters is that whatever comes out of you is true to the moment. Only when you align your inside with your outside, peace happens. Otherwise, there is always conflict. Niceness is conflict disguised as courtesy. Authenticity is harmony disguised as rawness. And when there is harmony within you, your very presence becomes a gift, not because you are trying to please anyone, but because you are not divided anymore. When you are undivided, you are alive. When I say you must be selfish, immediately people get uncomfortable. The word selfish has been condemned for so long that it sounds like an insult. From childhood you have been told, don't be selfish, think of others. So now when you hear this word, it feels like something negative, something wrong. But I want you to see the word in a different light. True selfishness is not about grabbing everything for yourself. It is not about hoarding, it is not about greed. It is about alignment. What do I mean by alignment? If your body, your mind, your emotions, and your energies are working together in one direction, you are aligned. In that state, you are naturally balanced, naturally joyful. You do not need to force kindness, it flows effortlessly. But when you are broken inside, when one part of you wants one thing and another part of you wants the opposite, you are in conflict. In conflict, whatever you do for others will be polluted by your own frustration. If you do not take care of your inner well-being first, how can you contribute anything meaningful to others? If you are drowning, you cannot save another drowning person. If you are sick, you cannot heal someone else's pain. If you are miserable, what do you have to share except your misery? But if you are joyful, balanced, overflowing, then whatever you do automatically becomes beneficial. Not because you are trying to be good, but because you cannot help it. This is the selfishness I am talking about. You must first establish yourself in clarity, in joy, in balance. Only then, whatever comes out of you will be of real value. Otherwise, even your so-called sacrifice will be toxic. Many people sacrifice themselves for others and then they walk around carrying the weight of their sacrifice like a badge. They constantly remind everyone, see what I have done for you, see what I gave up. That is not love. That is a trade. It is a business deal where you give something and expect recognition or gratitude in return. But when you are truly selfish in the right sense, you do not operate from lack, you operate from fullness. Imagine a tree full of fruit. The tree does not give fruit to the world because it wants to be nice. It gives fruit because it is overflowing. If the tree itself is starving, no fruit will come. First, the tree must gather enough nourishment, enough strength. Only then sharing becomes possible. The same is true with you. If you are inwardly nourished, your actions are naturally generous, effortless, joyful. But if you try to give when you are empty, you will only feel drained. This is why so many people who dedicate themselves to others end up bitter. They start resenting the very people they are helping. They complain, I did everything for you, but look how you treat me. This happens because what they gave was not coming from fullness, it was forced. And anything forced will eventually demand payback. So, selfishness means you take responsibility for your own inner state first. You don't run around fixing others while you yourself are broken. You don't put everyone else's happiness ahead of your own and then cry that no one cares about you. You realize that if you are aligned, your very existence becomes a source of well-being. You don't have to try to be good, you simply radiate goodness. When you are aligned, selfishness and selflessness are no longer two separate things, they merge. Because whatever makes you joyful also benefits others. Suppose you love to sing and you sing from your heart. That is your selfish joy. But when others hear it, they too are uplifted. Your selfishness becomes a gift. Suppose you are at peace within yourself. You did it for you, selfishly. But when others are with you, they feel peace too. Again, your selfishness becomes their blessing. People often confuse selfishness with greed. Greed is blind hunger. It never satisfies. Greed means no matter how much you have, you want more, and you want it at the cost of others. That is not alignment, that is compulsion. True selfishness is not compulsive, it is conscious. It is about asking, what do I need to be whole, to be complete, and taking responsibility for it. If you eat when you are hungry, is that selfish? If you breathe because your lungs demand air, is that selfish? In the same way, if you nurture your inner state, if you invest in your growth, in your clarity, in your peace, it is not selfishness in the ugly sense. It is the most responsible thing you can do. Because once you are whole, everything you touch will benefit. You see, people who try to live only for others without caring for themselves soon become burdens instead of blessings. They burn out. They turn into martyrs, expecting sympathy for their suffering. But a person who is selfish in the true sense never becomes a burden. They are alive, radiant, and overflowing. And when you overflow, sharing is not a sacrifice, it is a natural consequence. So stop misunderstanding selfishness. Don't think it means pushing others aside to grab everything. Don't think it means becoming cold or indifferent. It means aligning your inner world so that you stand firmly on your own feet. Then, when you stretch out your hand to another, it is not a shaky hand asking for validation. It is a steady hand that uplifts. When you live like this, you don't have to think of being nice, you don't have to calculate compassion. Whatever you do, even your silence, even your presence, becomes a contribution. Because you are not divided, you are not pretending, you are not empty. You are simply whole. And when you are whole, selfishness is the highest form of generosity. All your life you have been told that sacrifice is the greatest virtue. They say, give up what you want for others, put yourself last, put others first. It sounds noble, doesn't it? But let us look at this carefully. Does constant sacrifice really make you a better human being, or does it slowly make you bitter? If you sacrifice something joyfully, out of overflowing love, it is a different matter. Then there is no pain in it, there is no expectation. It feels natural, it feels beautiful. But most of the time, this is not how people live. They sacrifice because they feel compelled, because society demands it, because they want to be seen as good, as virtuous, as nice. And when you do something against your own truth, not from freedom but from compulsion, it leaves a wound inside you. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when every part of you wanted to say no? How many times have you done something for someone not because you truly wanted to, but because you were afraid of disappointing them, or because you wanted their approval? On the surface, people may clap for your generosity, but deep inside you know you betrayed yourself. And when you betray yourself too many times, you cannot escape bitterness. A person who sacrifices constantly is secretly keeping count. They may not say it openly, but deep down they are building a list. I did this for him, I gave up this for her, I endured this for them. And one day, when gratitude is not returned, when appreciation does not come, they explode. You will hear them say, after everything I have done for you, this is how you treat me. This bitterness does not come because people are ungrateful. It comes because your sacrifice was not a true offering, it was a bargain for approval. Sacrifice that seeks recognition is not generosity. It is a subtle form of manipulation. You give something not because you are full, but because you want something back. Maybe love, maybe validation, maybe respect. And when that return does not happen, you suffer. This is why so many people who appear selfless are secretly resentful. They live with the constant feeling that the world has been unfair to them. But the truth is, they created this unfairness by living a life of forced sacrifice. Understand this clearly, you cannot build joy on self-betrayal. If you constantly put yourself aside to please others, you may look good in their eyes, but inside you will wither. And when you wither, your very presence becomes heavy. People around you feel that weight. They may not say it, but they sense the frustration, the suppressed anger, the unspoken complaints. So instead of creating love, your sacrifice creates guilt and distance. When you deny your own needs for too long, you start demanding from others what you denied yourself. If you always suppress your desires, you expect others to somehow notice and reward you for your quiet suffering. But life does not work like that. Nobody can read your inner script, and when they fail to play their role in your silent drama, you blame them for being ungrateful. But really, it was you who set the trap, by sacrificing what you did not want to sacrifice in the first place. It is far more honest to say no when you mean no, than to say yes and carry resentment. If you truly cannot give, don't give. If you do not want to do something, don't do it. At least then, when you do say yes, it will come from sincerity, not compulsion. And sincerity is far more valuable than sacrifice. Look at nature. Does the sun rise in the morning as a sacrifice? No. It shines simply because it cannot do otherwise. Does a flower bloom because it wants approval? No. It blossoms because blooming is its nature. Real giving happens in the same way. It is not about loss, it is about overflow. If you are overflowing with joy, you will naturally share. There is no calculation, no bitterness. But if you are empty and you keep forcing yourself to give, then every act will drain you. This is why I say, stop sacrificing yourself for approval. Approval is the cheapest reward you can aim for. It changes with the wind. One day people will praise you, the next day they will forget you. If your entire life is built on their shifting opinions, you will never find peace. Instead, turn inward. Nurture yourself, align yourself, become full. Then whatever you share will not feel like a burden, it will feel like an expression of who you are. When you take care of yourself first, it does not mean you stop caring for others. On the contrary, it means what you give to others will be real. You will not give out of guilt, you will not give out of fear, you will not give out of a desperate need to be liked. You will give because it overflows from you. And when it overflows, it never leaves bitterness. True giving never remembers, and true receiving never forgets. If you keep remembering what you gave, it means it was not pure. If you constantly remind people, see what I did for you, it means it was not coming from fullness. But when you are full, you give and you forget. There is no weight in it. That is the only kind of giving that brings freedom. So do not destroy yourself in the name of sacrifice. Do not chase the approval of the world by killing your own joy. That approval will never satisfy you. Only alignment within yourself can satisfy you. From that satisfaction, real love, real care, real compassion will flow. Without it, your sacrifice will only turn into poison. Sacrifice for approval makes you bitter. Alignment makes you free. When you live a life of pretension, when you live a life of forced sacrifice, what you share with others is never truly pure. It is always mixed with frustration, always tinged with expectation. But when you are aligned, when you have cared for your inner state first, something very different begins to happen. You no longer have to calculate how to be good, You no longer have to plan how to contribute. Contribution simply flows out of you because you are full. This is what I mean when I say authentic selfishness creates genuine contribution. If you are selfish in the truest sense, not greedy, not grasping, but deeply responsible for your own joy, your own clarity, then whatever you touch becomes better. Not because you intended it, but because you could not help it. Imagine a lamp. A lamp does not shine because it wants to do charity. It shines because it is lit, and in its shining, many people can find their way. A tree does not grow and produce fruit because it is trying to be kind. It does so because that is the nature of a healthy tree, and when it bears fruit, countless beings are nourished. Similarly, if you take care of your own roots, if you keep yourself alive and whole, your presence itself becomes a contribution. The problem is, most people think contribution means sacrifice. They think contribution means doing something heavy, something they don't want to do but must do for the sake of others. But that is not true contribution. That is a performance. True contribution comes only when what you do is a natural expression of your well-being. Look closely at your life. The moments when you have truly uplifted someone, was it because you sacrificed, or was it because you were overflowing? If you recall carefully, you will see that when you were joyful, without even trying, you inspired others. When you were peaceful, without even speaking, you calmed others. When you were loving, without any effort, you touched others. This is contribution. It does not require effort when you are full. It requires enormous effort only when you are empty. So, selfishness in its authentic sense is not opposed to contribution. It is the very foundation of it. When you nourish yourself, you become capable of nourishing others. When you deny yourself, you only spread denial. If you are miserable and you try to serve others, you will spread misery no matter how noble your intentions are. But if you are fulfilled within yourself, even your smallest action can become a blessing. This is why I say, first fix yourself. Don't rush to fix the world before you are aligned. Otherwise, you will only spread your confusion in the name of service. And confusion multiplied is not service, it is disaster. But if you become clear, if you become balanced, then even your silence will be service. Your very presence will be uplifting. You don't have to force it, it will happen naturally. When you stop being nice and start being selfish in this true way, relationships also transform. Instead of pretending to like people, you become genuinely capable of loving them. Instead of saying yes to everything, you say yes only when it is real, and that yes carries weight. It is not casual, it is not fake, it is authentic. And people feel the difference. They may not always agree with you, but they trust you, because they know your actions are not driven by manipulation or guilt, but by truth. And this trust is the greatest contribution you can make. In a world full of masks, to be authentic is the rarest gift. In a world full of people performing kindness, to be truly whole and radiating from within is a revolution. But remember, this selfishness requires courage. It means you will sometimes disappoint others. It means you will sometimes be misunderstood. But it is better to be misunderstood for being true than to be celebrated for being false. Because what is celebrated today will be condemned tomorrow. Public opinion is not stable, but your own inner alignment, once cultivated, is unshakable. So don't chase being nice, don't chase approval, don't chase the role of a martyr. Instead, become selfish in the most profound way. Care for your body, care for your mind, care for your emotions, care for your energy. Make yourself a joyful being. Then, whatever you do will be touched by that joy. Even if you are just walking into a room, your presence will change the atmosphere. Even if you are silent, people will feel at ease around you. This is not because you are trying to contribute, but because contribution is a natural fragrance of a fulfilled life. If a flower blooms, its fragrance spreads. The flower is not trying to do social service. It is not sitting there calculating, How much fragrance should I release today? It simply blooms, and fragrance is inevitable. If you bloom within yourself, your fragrance will touch everyone, and that fragrance is the most genuine contribution. So, selfishness and contribution are not two separate things, they are two sides of the same coin. Without selfishness in the true sense, your contribution will always be corrupted by expectation. With selfishness in the true sense, contribution becomes effortless, natural, pure. When you are aligned within, you don't need to strive to be good. Goodness flows out of you like light from a lamp, like fragrance from a flower, like fruit from a tree. And that is the only contribution that matters because it is real. Authentic selfishness is the seed. Genuine contribution is its fruit.